You're listening to the Real Estate Proverbs Podcast with host Kevin Jefferson. This is the number one podcast for African American real estate professionals who are doing extraordinary things. It's time to tune in. And now, your host, the People's Lender, Kevin Jefferson.
Welcome to Real Estate Proverbs. I'm your host, Kevin Jefferson, and today we have a special guest by the name of Lisa Pleas. How are you doing, Lisa?
Hey, I'm doing fine.
That's awesome. Lisa, tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, so my name is Lisa Pleas. I am a broker, owner, realtor in Virginia Beach, Virginia. I have been in the business a little over 20 years. I have been listing and selling foreclosures for over 15 years. And about 2 years ago, I started my own firm, Wholesale Realty Group, where I specialize in the sale of distressed properties. So I help people that are in distressed situations sell their homes. So pre-foreclosures, short sales, delinquent taxes, vacant houses, abandoned houses, code violations, all of that. That's what I do. Probates, all of it. So
literally anything that's distressed. Okay.
That's it.
Got
That's
you.
it. Yeah.
Got you. So,
Yes.
so tell us how you got into real estate.
So funny story. And I'm probably telling my age here. So when I was younger, I used to watch on TV Carlton Sheets. So for those of your audience that are listening, if they're about my age or been in the business for a while, they remember Carlton Sheets. So Carlton Sheets used to be on this infomercial, and it would come on all the time. And he would have people up there talking about how they bought and sold real estate and they made all this money. And as I would look at it, I'm like, wow, I would love to get in real estate and make all this money. So as I got older, I got my real estate license. I got in it thinking I was going to make all this money and possibly buy a property and all that. But once I did my first transaction with a buyer, it completely changed my whole outlook on what I wanted to do. The money kind of got put on the back burner, and then it just became, I just love helping people buy houses. And I've done a couple of investment properties myself, but I actually love helping buyers buy property, and I love helping sellers sell their property. So I love the actual buying and selling of real estate and actually helping people with their real estate needs. So that's what got me started. So Carlton Sheets started it all is what I'm saying.
Wow, blast from the past.
Last from the past. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember he ran a lot of commercials, and that was
he did.
At the time, that was the only thing that we saw in terms of real estate investing, being marketed. So he
absolutely
said absolutely a lot. So when you started real estate, and you mentioned earlier that you list distressed properties, how did you actually get into the distress side?
Okay, so in my office, I used to work for Century 21. And in my office, we had a couple of REO agents. So we had some agents that would list and sell foreclosures. And back in the day, and it may be true today as well, sometimes agents are a little guarded as to how they got into business and, where they're getting their business from and all that. So I kind of understand that now, but back then it was kind of tight-lipped. So you really didn't know how to break into it. And if you asked, you got more like a generalized answer. So, but I saw these agents day in and day out doing these REO properties. And one day I asked them how did they get started? And they told me BPOs. And at the time I had never heard of a BPO. So I asked them to school me on BPOs and what is that and what does that entail? And they told me, and that's what I did. And after I did a few of those, I realized that there are some companies that actually just give out listings, and they're just BPO mills. So I started doing my research on that, and my very first client was Altisource. back in the day. So I'm sorry, it was actually Aquin before it changed it to Altisource. So Aquin was my first client, and I literally I did my research. I mean, I was on the computer day and night looking for different REO companies, submitting applications, and at the time I didn't have any experience. So some companies want to see experience, and I just did my research. I applied to every company that I saw out there, and I finally got my first break with Aquin.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what year was this?
Gosh, this was in 2005. It's about 5 years in, because I started real estate in 2000, so about 2005.
Wow.
Oh yeah,
That's
15 years
amazing.
ago. Mm-hmm.
So in 2005 was when you began to get REO properties.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Wow. So when you got with you said Aquin at the time, correct?
Yes.
Okay, when you were with Aquin at the time, how many properties were you seeing in 2005? At that time, that was the year before the height of the market back then.
Mm-hmm. So I wasn't seeing that many from Aquin. I was getting maybe 1 or 2 a month from Aquin, so not that many, which is why I continue to hit the pavement and grow my REO business. So I started hitting up other companies, and I did some for Green River Capital, PAS, and a couple other companies. So you can't put all your eggs in one basket. You have to, once you get one client, you have to continue to try to find other companies that also need your services to be able to build your business and grow. And so that's what I did. I just continue to do research. I continue to make phone calls to try to get in front of asset managers and try to find out who the decision makers were and get past the gatekeepers and all of that to submit my proposals to them, and resumes and all of that. I mean, it was a lot of grunt work. It was a lot of grueling grunt work.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
so. Yeah, that's the thing that people don't understand about the amount of work that you have to put in to get into the REO space, and then once you get in the REO space, people don't understand how much work you have to put in on behind the scenes. Um,
Absolutely.
so Lisa, let's how, and this is probably should have the conversation started a different way, but here we
Okay.
are, you know.
Okay.
How I was able, I saw you put a post on Facebook inside of a group about a list on how to purchase HUD properties.
Yes.
And when I saw that you said HUD properties specifically, that's when I reached out to you to find out, do you list HUD properties? And when I found out that you did, I got excited and I said, this is who I'm looking for.
Mhm.
As a former agent and a former agent who listed REO properties, I was never able to crack the code to get into HUD. I sold HUD properties, you know, on the buyer side, but
Mhm.
I was never able to crack into that space.
Mhm.
So I've got a lot of agents that I work with,
Okay.
and they reach out to me and ask me how do they even list REOs,
Okay.
and I send them to the sources that I had. And how did you? I know you said that you were with Aquin. There's a lot of grunt work. What was that one thing, or what allowed for you to get in with HUD? Because I've never met an African American male or female who listed a HUD property ever in my life. So I'm
Okay.
very intrigued and interested on how you were able to do that.
Okay. So I own my own company now, but the former company that I was with, me and the principal broker literally got together a package. We put together a package and we submitted that to the new asset manager. So we literally waited to see who that was going to be, because if you want to break into the REO business, especially if you want to be a HUD listing agent, you have to know who the asset manager is going to be, and you have to be able to submit a package to them. And that package has to be that package has to just really highlight your features, what you're going to do for them, what your experience is. So, I mean, I put together a package that, well, actually, I say we put together a package that actually just, it was a resume, my resume. It said everything that I've done. Because like I said, at that point, I had been doing REOs for about 10 years. So all of my experience and what I could do for them, and the cash for keys and all of that. And of course, at that time, I didn't know that you don't do that with HUD properties, but I just put everything in there. I've just put together a nice package and submitted it to the asset manager. And we literally sat and wait. And it was a while. I'm not gonna say it's easy. It's not easy. We submitted a package, and it took some time for us to be contacted by HUD. And before we submitted a package, I have done that in the past. I've submitted packages to HUD. I've submitted packages to VA. I've submitted packages to Fannie Mae, and never got contacted by those companies. But when we put the package together, at that time, like I said, it was a long waiting period, but we did get contacted and we did get accepted as a local listing broker. And when I opened up my own company, I did the same thing. I submitted another package and said, hey, I have my own company and I'm submitting another package. I would love to be able to, be a HUD listing agent with my own company. And they said, sure. I've done a really good job with managing the HUD properties. I had a really good scorecard. So at that time I had already proven myself. So I was able to get in as well with my own company. But it's pretty much putting together a package. And you can reach out to, once you find out who the asset manager is, you actually can reach out to the asset manager and find out what they're looking for. I've gone through 2 asset managers with HUD, and each asset manager is different. And we actually had to apply both times. You don't get to roll over when the asset managers change. So you have to submit a package each time. And that's what we did. This, you have to make that package look really, really good. Everything that is your strengths, you have to highlight that in the best light. You have to show them why you are the agent that should be looking after their properties, because you are their eyes and ears. They're not here. They're sitting in the corporate office somewhere. You are their eyes and ears. So you have to convey that message to them as to how you are best suited for the job, because you have tons of agents that are also submitting applications. So you have to make yourself stand out. You have to submit a superior package to make all of your highlights stand out, so that they will call you. At the end of the day, you're looking for that phone call, or in this case, an email that says, hey, you have been selected. And it's a really great feeling to be selected and be able to be a HUD listing agent. And I have loved every minute of it. A lot of people get in it and say, what have I got myself into? But I actually love it. I really, really do. I love it. And like you said earlier, Kevin, it is a lot of work. It's a lot of work. A lot of people don't see that part of it. They want to become an REO agent, or they want to become a HUD listing agent specifically, but it is a lot of hard work behind the scenes, a lot of things that you have to do, and visiting the property and reports and things of that nature. So you do earn your money. So you really have to make sure that this is definitely what you want, and stay on top of all of your tasks and things of that nature. So if it's something that you want, just to kind of wrap your question up, submit a superior package. Submit a superior package to make sure that they know who you are and what you can do for them, and how you can be an asset to them.
So when you said that it is a lot of hard work, take me through the process once you receive the listing.
Okay. So once I receive a listing, actually, I'm going to kind of go back a little bit. Actually, so before you receive the listing, you're actually in pre-list phase. So they call it an assignment. So first you receive an assignment. And once you receive the assignment, you have to go and visit the property and make sure it's vacant and all that. Because it's a HUD property, well, if it's a HUD property, the HUD properties are typically vacant. Typically, the field service manager has already gone over there. They've already secured the property, things of that nature. Sometimes they have not. Sometimes I've gotten over there and I've beaten the field service manager, and they have not gotten over there, and it has not been trashed out and all that. So you go over there. You have to make sure that the property is vacant, that is trashed out. You want to go through and assess any damages that you see. You have to submit a report that says, this is what you've seen, and this is about how much you think the property should be listed at. Once you do that, there's also other tasks that you have to do, and this particular asset manager actually requires like a prelim title binder, for lack of better words. But you have title stuff you have to do. You have what else? BPOs you have to do. You have there's a lot of reports that you have to submit in the pre-list phase, and then you have to wait for them to do what they do on the back end to get it ready. And then once they do that, then they give you the listing. And then once you get the listing, then you're going over there every week to make sure that the property is hasn't been vandalized, that no one has broken into the property, there aren't any squatters in the property. That's another thing, because these properties are vacant. If you're looking to get into this business, you have to be someone who doesn't mind going into vacant houses. I've had a lot of people reach out to me and say, well, Lisa, do you need an assistant? And I could do this and I could do that. And then, when they find out I have to go into vacant houses, they're like, I wouldn't want to go in that house, and that house has been sitting vacant. So you have to be willing to do stuff like that, because these houses are vacant. You don't know if there's squatters inside the house and things of that nature. So you have to be looking out for that. And so like I said, pretty much, you do these reports, and you go check on the properties, and you make sure that the property stays safe, sound, and secure. You're still submitting reports to them because they want to know what's going on with the properties. You're keeping track as to the traffic that's going on inside the property to ultimately get it sold. And sometimes you're doing update reports, ever so often to let them know, why it hasn't sold and why you think it hasn't sold. Is it overpriced, or is something wrong with it? So there's a lot of reports that have to be done and submitted and updated, and they're all time sensitive. So you have to be a person who is available to be able to submit these reports in a timely manner to HUD.
So you mentioned the, I guess, acronym BPO a few times. What's the BPO?
So a BPO is a broker price opinion. And even though the word broker is in there, there's some states that are broker states, but a lot of states are you don't have to be a broker. You're just a regular agent. So typically, BPO is an opinion of value that's given by a real estate agent. So of course, we know an appraisal is an opinion of value given by an appraiser who's licensed to do that. But a BPO is a similar version of that, but it's done by a real estate agent. And we get paid much less than an appraiser, by the way.
Yeah.
So, we don't make appraiser type of money doing a BPO, but it is something similar to an appraiser where you get to give your opinion of value for that home.
Gotcha.
So whenever you're working with an REO company, whether you're working for a government entity like HUD, or you're looking to do traditional REOs, they would typically get you as an agent to do a broker's price opinion, because they want to know, what do you think the house could sell for? What do you think the house is worth? So that is their form and their report that you fill out that says, hey, this is what I think is worth. This is what I think it could sell for. And that's what you would submit.
Gotcha. So once you've done the BPO, and I'm assuming that's a part of the pre-listing package that you have to send in?
Yes, absolutely.
Gotcha. So when you send in the pre-listing package, I remember when I listed, it depended on the asset management company. Some would put the utilities in their name, and some would have you put it in the broker's name, and then some would have you put it in your name. With HUD, how does that work?
So with HUD doesn't have any utilities on. So luckily for me, I don't have to worry about putting utilities in my name. Some of my other companies, I do have to do that because I do have other REOs that I list to sell as well. But with HUD, the utilities are not on, so I don't have to worry about putting the utilities in my name. So so the way that it works is that the buyer who is awarded the HUD contract, they are the ones who has to actually get the utilities cut on in their name once they get permission from the field service manager to be able to get the utilities cut on. So once the offer has been accepted, the selling agent has to get permission from the field service manager that says, yes, it's okay to get the utilities cut on. And that step is in process because the field service manager knows if the pipes have been stolen underneath the house, for instance. You know, as an agent, we don't go on crawl spaces. We don't know if the pipes are under the house or not. So the field service manager will be the one to say, hey, you can get the water and electricity and the gas cut on, or no, you can't because there is a safety issue. So once you get the permission from the field service manager to get the utilities cut on, then the buyer in turn calls the utility companies to then get the utilities set up to be able to get the utilities on to be able to do home inspection is typically what that's for. The home inspection and the appraiser who's going to need to have the utilities on too, typically for the buyer's loan. So I don't have to worry about getting utilities cut on in my name and company name and all that. The buyer will take care of that once their bid is selected. So that works out pretty good for me because the other companies where you have to do that, you have to keep track of the billing and submitting bills and trying to get reimbursed and all that, because not only do you get it put in your name, but you pay the bills too. So you have to reimburse for that. So with HUD is actually pretty good that I don't have to do that. So that works out perfect for me.
So with what was the most listings you've had, REO listings you've had at one time, if you can remember?
At one time, gosh, I say about 15. About 15. One time with the old asset manager, if you did a really, really good job, you were almost guaranteed to carry about a good 10 to 15. And I did.
Wow. So
Yep.
that's a lot of work. I mean, I remember
It is now I will say, to be fair, when I first started out, when we first got our HUD contract, we actually had a team. So it was a team because we knew that it was coming. When we first got got the HUD contract, we knew that the listings were coming. They actually had told us, and actually they told us we would get about, so I said 15, they actually said we would get about 25. But what they did is it kind of, by the time we got maybe 5, they started going under contract, and then we would get like another 5 or 10. So at one time, I say we carried about a good 15, but they were coming fast and furious. So I did have a team. We had 2 other people that actually kind of helped out, and then it kind of dwindled down to 2 people. Me and another person actually handled it because it is a lot of volume. One person cannot handle that much volume. You have to have a partner that's going to be able to help you out. Either someone who is going to be the one that goes out into the field to do the assessments and all that. Someone maybe handle the paperwork, or someone that actually, or someone can actually submit the paperwork, or you have to have some type of order, some type of team together to be able to do that, because you just cannot do that by yourself. Not that type of volume anyway.
Right. Do you currently have an assistant to help you now?
I do not. I started I literally just said today, Kevin, I said, I have got to get me an assistant. I wasn't sure exactly how much volume I would do with this new company and how quickly, but it's been phenomenal. And I actually, I didn't kind of say that we said before, but I'm actually have a dual broker's license. So I have 2 broker licenses. So up until last July, I actually worked for 2 different companies. So for me, I didn't really start fully focusing on my company until July of last year. So, but I'm at the point now where I need an assistant like ASAP. I was just talking about that today. So, and we'll have someone bringing on, brought onto the team.
Got
Absolutely.
got you. So a lot of agents want to get into that space, and we talked about, and based from our conversation previously, that it's a lot of work to get into. So being an REO listing seems glamorous and glitzy because it's foreclosures, someone's going to buy it. Tell me, or tell the audience, let's tell the audience a couple of things that you would do to prepare once you are able to break that barrier, because getting in the good old boy network is one thing, staying there is another, because they score everything you do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that is actually a great question. So once you prepare this beautiful package that tells them everything that you're going to do for them, and you make it look really beautiful, and you highlight all your features and all that good stuff, and let's say you become a HUD listing agent or any other REO company, and let's say you get in, you have I cannot stress the importance of turning in your task on time. They have to be on time. They have to be on point, and they have to be completed. Um, and I know that sounds absolutely crazy, but um, back when I did BPOs, I also used to be on a panel where sometimes some companies would actually send me BPOs to review. So I would be like on this review panel where they would send me BPOs that other agents did for me to look at them. And some of them I would look at and shake my head and say, I know for a fact nobody turned this in looking like this. so so I say that to say it has to be complete. Whatever, whatever's on the report, make sure everything is filled in. Don't leave blanks. Make sure that you have someone that's good at doing paperwork. It's a lot of paperwork. So if you're a person and because if you're in real estate, you know that our life is about paperwork, right?
Right,
So, and whether you're good at paperwork or not,
right.
it's no secret. If you're an agent, it's no secret whether paperwork is your strong suit or not. Okay. So, if you're not good at paperwork, it may be a good idea to have an assistant right on the onset. Don't wait until you get overwhelmed and you have a low score to bring somebody on. So make sure that your paperwork is on point, that everything is filled out correctly, and that you're turning it in on time, because everything is timed. There's a time task for everything, and the clock when you log in, there's an actual clock that's counting down that tells you how long you have. So you have to submit that paperwork on time so that you get a really good score, because they do score, and you have to make sure that you keep a good score. So like you said, that's why I said it's a great question, because once you break in and you've done all this hard work to break through the barriers, and now you're a REO agent, you have to make sure that you are being the best of the best so that you can continue to get listings. That's just how it is. You have to be on point.
I'm smiling because I remember getting the nasty grams about my
Uh-oh.
task or not having the assignment on time.
Mhm.
And it's just, everything. They scored you on everything.
Yeah,
I remember going out having to take what seems like 50 to 60 pictures.
absolutely.
It's a lot of work. It's a tedious job. And you're right. Um, in hindsight, when I think of it, I probably couldn't have did more than 5 by myself.
Mhm.
You need a team, and you need a system. You
I
need
was I
a
was I was just about to say that, Kevin. You need a system as well, a
Yeah.
team and a system, and that's how I was able to kind of get through it. Because once because I had, like I said, I had a partner, but then that partner wound up branching off to another opportunity, and it was just me. And I handled, I say the most I handled by myself was about 10. at one time, and it was a lot of work. I mean, it's day and night. I used to always joke and say I have no life because that was my life. While all my friends are going out to dinner and movies and having a good time and entertainment and all of that, I was working. So it was a lot of work, but I got through because I had a system.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember having my wife where I would go out and take the pictures. I would send her
Mhm.
over to an email. I send her a list of the comparables, and I would have her input the information while I did
Mhm.
other stuff.
Mhm.
That was for BPOs, and that
Mhm.
was for REOs as well.
That was your system.
Um, yeah, that was my system right there. The good part is that you know that they're going to sell. You have a
Absolutely.
seller that wants to sell.
Mhm.
And I think that is the attractive, to me, that was the attractive part of listing REOs, alongside of the work. The other thing that I don't think agents understand, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but when I was an REO agent, my compensation was less than a buyer's agent.
Mhm. So it may be like that now with some companies. So HUD, their their compensation is the same as the selling agent. So listing agent and selling agent gets paid the same. Here in my market area, it's 6% total. So 3% to the listing agent, 3% to the selling agent. But that is a very good point because at one point I got out of the REO business for that very reason. My market wound up becoming saturated with a lot of agents who wanted to break into the REO business because it was right when the bubble had burst and people were doing a lot of short sales and REOs. And even though I had gotten in it before then, a lot of agents saw REOs as the way to go. So now they were trying to break in. And because it was so, the managers were inundated with a lot of agents who wanted to break into the business, they started reducing the commission. So one of the companies I was working for, I had gotten an assignment and they had reduced the commission to 2%. So I called them up just to make sure it wasn't a typo. And they said, no, it's 2%. So I'm like, okay, well, I can swallow. I can swallow 2%, So that was that. And then another company sent assignment and it was 1%. I'm like, okay, this is getting a little ridiculous. And then another company had sent me over an assignment. Actually, they sent me an actual it wasn't just the assignment, it was actual listing. And they were just giving me a flat fee. And I think they were wanting to give 1250 or something. And at that point, it was less than 1%. And I'm like, look, guys, you guys are like going in the wrong direction here. I mean, and these were companies where I did have to put the utilities in my name and I did have to bill them and get reimbursed and all of that good stuff. So it's a lot of work. So it's a lot of work to keep having your commission reduced. So at that time, I said, well, hey, if all these agents are trying to get into the business and you guys can get away with paying, less than 1%, bless you. But I just can't do it for that price. And I wound up getting out of it for a little bit. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I
Mhm.
remember I remember some of the easiest REOs I had was when
Uh-huh.
I was the listing agent on the REO and they put it up for auction right away.
Okay.
That was some of the easiest ones. I did one with auctions.com,
Mhm.
and I did one with Williams and Williams. And
Mhm.
actually on the one with Williams and Williams, I end up getting both sides.
Okay,
Uh,
nice.
Yep, because the buyer came to the auction. He
Mhm.
was the only person there,
Mhm.
wasn't represented by an agent, and
Okay.
he won the bid.
Sweet.
And then I remember I actually had got both sides on another. However, I got the full buyer side, but I got the flat fee for the listing broker side.
Mhm.
And it was an auction. And people don't understand. I had to hang up auction signs.
Mhm.
I had to hang up auction
Absolutely.
signs. I had to do open houses for the
Mhm.
auction. If
Mhm.
someone, wanted to come and take a look, I had to be there. In those particular cases, like they were beat up house. Some of them were beat up houses, and I had to prove to the auction company that the utilities couldn't be on. I mean, to the REO company that the utilities couldn't get cut on because the pipes were gone.
Absolutely.
So it was a tedious process. But so the thing of it is, there are not a lot of people who are in the REO space, to my knowledge, and I don't know everything, to my knowledge, that look like you and I.
Okay.
And what I hope for people to get out of this podcast is that you can be an REO agent, but it's going to take a lot of work. I think it takes more work to become an REO agent than to be a listing agent on property sold by regular sellers.
Absolutely.
Because you're vetted. You have to do a ton of tasks for them sometimes. Sometimes they just want you to do field inspections. Is 123 Main Street okay? Take pictures and send it back. Sometimes they want you to do the BPOs. So they test you to me, I felt like they was testing me to see my loyalty and what I'm willing to do and my work ethic before they got me.
They will test you.
Yeah. They definitely will test
your patience.
Yeah, they'll test your patience. And so I remember I felt like I had to do a report. There was a couple different reports, and you can refresh my memory. There was one report where you just reported to them what the property looked like at the time, like the status of the property. And then it was a certain time in the month, maybe once or twice a month, where you had to do another BPO on that particular property to see if you need to do a price reduction.
Absolutely. You're spot on. So what some of you have to do, routine inspections, they typically call them routine inspections or routine checkups on the home. And I've been with some companies where it's once a week. I've been with some companies where it's once every other week. And you have to go over there to make sure that their asset is being protected, that, no one is broken in and all of that good stuff. So absolutely, you have to do all of that. Go over there and make sure everything looks good. You're absolutely right.
That's good. So Lisa,
Sure
so
yes.
I'm not sure if you're willing to share, but I'm gonna ask.
Uh-oh.
Who are a few companies that you know of that someone looking to break into the REO space could potentially reach out to and get their profile to? Like now, when I started and when you started, I don't think Google was prevalent, and you could Google it now. But the REO companies have gatekeepers as well.
Absolutely.
If you could tell us maybe one or two companies that someone could reach out to, or platforms they could get on to get their name seen and their name thrown in the hat to become an REO agent.
Okay. So the only platform that I know of right now, I literally just heard this just the other day, but I've been so swamped, I haven't had a chance to check it out. But if they go to Pyramid, I heard that Pyramid is looking for agents right now. I'm not sure exactly what their platform is, what it's all about, but I know that they do REOs, and it was mentioned to me, but I just have not had the time to be able to go on that platform. So if there's anybody that's listening to your podcast right now, try Pyramid. It's a platform. And again, I'm not sure what type of REOs that they hand out, but I heard that they are looking for REO agents. So I plan on applying myself to the Pyramid platform. But the two companies that I work for mainly, I do some for MGIC. They're closed out. Like you can't even, I've been with them for, gosh, probably 12 years. And they're, is really, really hard to get in with them. They have pretty much shut everything down. And then HUD, of course, they shut everything down once the asset manager is revealed and there's so many applications. They actually have a bidding period where you submit your package, and once that period is over, that's it. You can't get into HUD either. So the two main ones that I work for, they're pretty much shut down right now. But like I said, I heard that the Pyramid platform, they are looking for agents. So I would try that platform if you listen to this podcast. And I know you say Google really isn't as prevalent, but if you do a lot of research, if you research it, Google is amazing if you know what to put in it, because you're gonna get out of it what you put into it. So if you just Google, REO properties or REO agent, you might not get that much, but you're really looking for asset managers. So make sure that you're Googling asset managers. And then you want to Google asset managers that have listings in your backyard. So if you just keep on, Googling, because it was the same thing when I did it. When I did it, it didn't just pop up for me. I mean, I can't even tell you how many hours I put into it. I mean, day and night. I mean, 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm still up Googling and putting in applications. I mean, it was unreal. I mean, I did this for a very, very long time, and just submitting applications to every single solitary asset manager that I could get my hands on. I probably have an application at some point, or had an application at some point with probably most of the asset management companies. And like you said, it's very, very hard to break into it. So, but I did. I just kept submitting applications, and you just have to keep Googling. You have to keep finding them. You have to ask some people. I know in my business, like you said, you gotta wouldn't answer that question. A lot of REO agents don't really want to answer the question because you are helping your competition. So I would say that try to find someone. I mean, if you keep asking enough REO agents, somebody's going to tell you something. So, you can find out that way. Another way you can find out is, I know, I used to look in the MLS. Some of the MLS, it tells you the name of you pull up REO properties, it tells you the name of the company. So if you're looking at the listing in your area and it's an REO listing, and let's say it says, XYZ company, that XYZ company has REO listings in your area. And if you keep seeing XYZ company come up, you know that they have listings in your area. So, why not you contact XYZ company and say, hey, I would love to be able to submit a package to you or a proposal to you to be able to be an REO agent. What do I need to do? So that's another good way. Look in your local MLS. See, I think a lot of major areas has a major REO agent. Look and see, what companies are they working for? What REO listings are being listed? Who's the owner of those listings? Who's the asset manager for those listings? So it can be done. It's just a lot of research, and you just have to be willing to put in the work for it. Just don't, go and ask. Also be able to be willing to put in the work to go in and Google and do your research and put those packages in and sell yourself. You have to sell yourself to these people.
Right.
Yeah.
When I was doing it, the company that was the hottest company out at the time, besides HUD, was Premier Assets, which was Wells Fargo's asset management company, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
They were I don't think they were ever taking applications. And I'm not even sure if they are now. I don't know, but they Premier Assets, and it was like another one. Premier Assets was one. HUD was hard to get into. And I think like Freddie Mac had a division at one time, and they were hard to get into as well.
So it's Fannie Mae. Fannie Mae's hard
Fannie
to get
Mae,
into as
yep.
well. Yeah.
Fannie Mae was hard to get into as well.
All of them are. They really, really are, Kevin. They are really, and I'm not here to, to sugarcoat it. It really is hard to get into, but I just want your audience to know that it is possible. It is possible. You have to have the tenacity, and you just have to stay on it to be able to break into it and be able to just break into that business, to the REO business. So just,
Wow.
submit your packages, stay up. Once you're able to Google these companies and you find them, usually somewhere on their website, it'll have somewhere where you can sign up. And some of them is funny because you probably know this, Kevin. Some of them is hidden. Like you have to search around that website and click here and click there before you actually even find where you're supposed to submit the application. It's almost like they don't want you to see
See it, yeah.
that you can submit an application. So some of them you have to actually click the login button, and then when you click the login button, it'll say, username, password, create application or create an account, something like that. But again, if you're just looking at that login button, you're saying, well, you know what? I can't log in. I don't have access to this site. And you don't click that login button. You'll look around that site and think it's not there. Maybe I can't apply. So sometimes it's hidden. So that's why I say, if you guys are listening and you want to break into the REO business, make sure you're just doing this thorough research. Make sure you're clicking all around these sites. Make phone calls. They typically have numbers. They are going to have gatekeepers. It is their job. I'm sure they get calls all day from agents wanting to be an REO agent. So see if you can sweet talk the gatekeeper to at least get the asset manager's email address. Sometimes they're more apt to give out an email address and a phone number or to transfer you to them. And again, put your best foot forward. That's just what it's all about. So navigate all around that site and find that secret passageway. Sometimes it seems like it's a secret passageway just to get an application in, but it can be done.
I feel like I remember finding the way to apply in the About Us section all the way at the bottom. Like you all the way at the bottom, you go to the About Us section and then it gives you a breakdown of the company and then you like how to apply with. So you wouldn't normally see it that front page. You go to About Us and it's in there. And if you don't look, you're not going to see it. Like you've got to search. I remember applying for REO companies consistently, BPO companies consistently. And also the platform that I got on that helped me get more exposure was Equator.
Okay.
Is Equator still around?
Yeah, Equator is still around. There's another one,
ResNet. Yep, I was on ResNet.
ResNet is another platform. So these platforms that Kevin and I are talking about it's like a backdoor way to get in. So you're not actually reaching out to the asset managers. You're actually going into a platform that asset managers go on to be able to choose an agent whenever they have an assignment. So they have an assignment, they'll go to the portal, they'll look for an agent that's within proximity to the assignment, and then they'll reach out to the agent that they feel is most certified to handle that asset for them. So ResNet's one of them. Like you said, Equator's still around. Equator's one of them. And that's the two major platforms. But I can't think of another platform that they use. And I'm sure there's a ton more probably, but ResNet and Equator is the only one I can think of right now.
So the first platform I ever got on, and I just looked it up just to be sure, is REOnetwork.com. REOnetwork.com is where you have the ability to get a login, build a profile, and let them know what areas you're willing to serve. Mm-hmm. Now with REO Network, that's where I got my first REO. At the time, it was for a bank, like a small bank who just went on there and happened to find me because they had financed the property where I was at. And of course, they didn't really have a presence. So they had foreclosed on it and they brought it back and they were looking for an agent. And sometimes the way to start is doing one or two here for different companies. And then that helps you build your resume. So I was able to add those as references on my REO Network profile. And then as time began to go by, I had more and more experience and I could refer them to the different companies that I dealt with. So REO Network, I actually, before when we talked the other day, I was in the middle of looking it up to see if my profile was still there, but I never logged in. So that's why I looked down. I typed in ArioNetwork.com to make sure that it was still there. So
yeah,
Lisa,
I've been a member. I've been with Ario Network for probably 15 years. It was one of the first ones that because back in the day, Ario Net, like if you Googled Ario, like they were like one of the first ones to come up. So I started an account with them like years ago. I don't think I ever got anything from Ario Network.
yeah, I got a lot of one-offs from like like they weren't necessarily assets. They were just banks who had, had assets in different parts of town. Because at that time, the mortgage industry was a little different. So people were doing loans in different states and they didn't really have to necessarily be licensed. So it was a little different. Have you ever attended any of the REO conferences?
Oh, absolutely. I've done the 5-star conference. I've done what was it, Ariel Mac, I think some years ago.
Yeah,
So
REO Mac, yeah.
I've done a few of them. Yep, I've
Well,
done a few of them.
that's awesome.
So they have like breakout sessions, and you get a chance to get in front of asset managers and things of that nature. So I actually have gone to several of the REO conventions, as they call them. So it is a great way to get in front of asset managers. But again, I'll tell you, if you don't stand out, because there's tens of thousands of agents at those conventions. So you have to do something to stand out with those companies to be able to break in. And I never forget the last one that I went to. I just knew that I made a connection with the guy that was giving out the listings for VA. So so I said, yeah, I'm going to give you a call. And, I got his personal card and all that. And I declare, by the time I got around to calling him, someone else, he had gotten a promotion. He was no longer in that position. Someone else was in there. I said, oh, man. but I say that to say that, when you're going to these conventions, you have to have an agenda. Don't just go there. Because my first time going there, I mean, I'm just going there kind of just, walking around, you're so in awe because there's just so many agents and you're networking and you're connected with everyone. But just make sure that you have a plan and a purpose when you're going there. And that's to get in front of these asset managers and finding out exactly what do you need to do to break into this business and what do you need to do to get listings from their company. Just be very direct, like, hey, I'm here to, to build a relationship with you, meet you, find out about your company, and find out what can I do to become one of your REO listing agents, and go there with a plan and a purpose, and hopefully and follow up. I can't say how important that is to follow up. They're going to meet 1 million agents at those conventions. So make sure that you're following up and you continue to call and call and call. And that was, to be honest, was one of my, to learn from my mistakes is what I'm saying. Because I went, and you spend some money when you go because the tickets aren't cheap. And they have never been in my area. So you have to fly or drive. And it's pricey to go to these conventions. So if you're going to go, spend the time and make sure that you're following up with these asset managers that you get in front of, because if you don't, then they'll forget about you if you did make a connection, and there goes that. Or in my case, you're calling the person who you made a connection with is no longer there. So just make sure that you guys have a plan and a purpose when you're going there. That's to make a connection, build a rapport, and do your follow-up, just like you do it with any client. In our business, they say, 10 to 12 touches is what it takes to turn a customer into a client. It's probably about the same for these asset managers too. Probably about 10 to 12 touches. You have to make sure that they know who you are. So just continue to follow up, not be too pushy, but shoot over an email, just say, hey, nice to meet you at the conference. Follow up with the phone call as well. Did you get my email? So just follow up. Follow up. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. So Lisa, what can we expect from Wholesale Realty Group in the coming months and coming years? Where we look to be at, how are we looking to grow?
Let me tell you, so I'm doing absolutely amazing. I usually don't share figures, and I think because I'm still kind of humble about it, but I want to give the audience just an idea of how amazing um, being in, well, in my case, I'm a broker by myself, but in this business, and mine is not just REO business, but I mainly do distressed properties. But if I continue on this trajectory, I'll hit six figures within this quarter. So I think that that's
Wow.
a really it's a nice milestone for me, because like I said, when I started out on my own, I didn't know how it was going to go, because it's one thing when you're an agent and it's one thing when you're a broker owner. Owner, you have so many other responsibilities. It's not just now you're listening and selling, it's taking care of everything. I have a whole brick and mortar that I have to pay rent on. I have utilities at my brick and mortar. I have to maintain it, so I have, broker reports that I have to do. I have to worry about our MLS system. I mean, yeah, MLS board and all that, because now I'm a broker. So I have broker responsibilities, but I'm still an agent because I still list and sell. That's my bread and butter. But my trajectory is really, really good. I have some really I have a lot of things that I'm doing. I'm gonna start. I'm also a certified Mosley instructor, real estate instructor. So I'm gonna start doing classes for Mosley. And that's what I love. I love to teach. So I'll be doing that, and have a couple other little projects coming up. So you're gonna hear a lot about Wholesale Realty Group. So I think it's gonna be amazing. So far I'm off to a great start for the year, and everything's just working out amazing. I'm super excited about 2021 and what it's going to bring. I had an amazing 2020, despite everything that happened in 2020 with the pandemic. But like I tell people, it's all in how you spend it. It's all in how you look at it. It's all about your perception and your attitude. If you think it was such a horrible year, and you just want to sulk about it and think about all the negative things, then it will absolutely be a horrible year for you. But if you kind of look at all the good things that came out of it, if you look at the real estate market in general, the real estate market last year skyrocketed. I mean, it took off. I mean, I thought, to be honest, I thought we were doomed. I mean, when I heard, because I think everybody remembers where they were when they heard the word pandemic. I was in my living room, and I remember I was I had like this desk area in my living room, and I have it facing the TV where I can kind of work on the computer, look at the TV at the same time. And I remember someone coming on the TV and saying we are now in a pandemic. And I'm like, a pandemic? And then they said, yeah, so not like an epidemic, we're in a pandemic. And I was like, what? So I remember pausing for a moment, and I'm thinking, with everything that's going on, and once they're explaining about what was happening, I'm thinking nobody is going to want to buy a house. Nobody is going to want to sell a house. Who is going to want people walking through their home? Because people are scared. At that time, we didn't know too much about COVID. We didn't know, exactly how you got it. We didn't know exactly what you needed to do and all that. And that was before the mask and all that. So we really didn't know. And I thought, real estate wasn't going to do all that well, but it did just the opposite. It just skyrocketed. And so again, like I said, it's your perception as to how you want to perceive how 2020 was, and it's going to be your perception that's going to perceive how your 2021 is going to be. And my perception is that I'm going to have a great 2021. I'm going to have a great first quarter. In my month of January, I've done really well. Uh, I have 2 sales already and 3 listings, and it's not even 15 days into January.
Right, months, not
So
even half over.
yeah, not even halfway over. So I'm super excited. So like I said, I think it's going to be an amazing year, amazing quarter, amazing month so far. I'm super excited about it. So Wholesale Realty Group has a lot going on, and I'm super excited to see what this year is going to bring.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, Lisa, I definitely appreciate your time. this was very informative to me, and I'm sure the listeners will get something out of this episode. If someone
Awesome.
wants to reach out to you in terms of social media, where can they find you at?
So I have a Facebook business page, Wholesale Realty Group. But if they want to reach out to me, it's best to reach out to me under my personal, which is Lisa Pleas. I'm on Facebook under Lisa Pleas, and his first name is Lisa, Lisa, last name Pleas, like short for pleasant, and it's Pleas. So like please without the last E. So yep. So look me up on Facebook. Shoot me over a message on Messenger. I love helping people. So if you listen to the podcast and you need some help, some encouragement, or whatever, just hit me up. Yep. Hit me
Awesome,
up.
awesome. Lisa, I appreciate your time. I know you said you had to go negotiate a contract with your
Yeah.
sellers. So I appreciate your time, and I look forward to hearing from you.
Awesome. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for having me.
All right, bye-bye.